Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 170th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is in the house. As always, please follow this show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. Nice lunch yesterday with you for your birthday, man. It's been a good long weekend, right?
What's up, Woods? Well, firstly, long weekend. Thanks to King Charles for giving us this glorious day off. And amazing afternoon yesterday. Was really appreciative for you taking us out. Went with your lovely wife, Rachel. Went with my beautiful daughter, Emily, and the four of us had a nice lunch together. So, I was pretty full last night. I was a bit sleepy after that big lunchtime feed, but no, it was great. And always good to record on a day off as well, right? It's like just finished watching the game, lots to talk about.
Definitely. We were talking about that yesterday. We're looking forward to getting up on a day off, watching the game, and then recording afterwards. So, really excited to get into it. So, without further ado, let's kick things off with our jerseys. What do you got for us today?
Nice. Well, I feel like I've had a few random ones lately, Wood. So, when you're on a bit of a roll with doing random ones, you might as well stick with it, right? So, random Cleveland Cavaliers one. I'll stand up. A guy I think you used to like, and a bit of a blast from the past.
And for those who can't see, Robbie's got the Cleveland Cavaliers 90 Drew Gooden jersey, and always a big fan of Drew Gooden, man. Always
that random enough for you?
Yeah.
Nice. Again, loving these Adidas jerseys, Woods. I put them on. All of them seem to fit well. I don't know if there's some of these Nike ones. The Adidas ones fit well. So, Drew Gooden, blue Adidas Cleveland Cavs jersey. A little bit on Gooden. Played 14 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Kansas by the Grizzlies at pick 4 in the 2002 NBA draft. Do you remember the 3 players drafted before him, Woods? 2002. First pick was a mountain of a man. The second pick never amounted due to some bad luck, and the third one is still a name you hear around the game now.
Not my day. Tell me.
All right, so Yao Ming was number 1.
Yep.
Jay Williams, number 2. Of course, has played one season and was in a car accident with Chicago and basically never played again. And Mike Dunleavy Jr. was number 3. So interesting top 4, I guess. Some sort of mixed results on those.
That was Nene as well, I think, that draft, right? I think.
Which one's that, sorry?
Nene might have been. Nene might have been that draft.
Nene Hilario.
Yeah, I think he would have been that draft as well. Anyway,
I always read who these guys have played with before, so I hope you're comfortable. So Grizzlies, Magic, Cavs, Bulls, Kings, Spurs, Mavs, Clippers, Bucks, and Wizards, where he finished up with in 2009. So Wizards were his last team. So 6'10" power forward. Look, was a really good college player. He had a number of college awards. He also made an NBA All-Rookie First Team. And look, as I mentioned, in that 14 years, he had pretty solid career averages there of 11 points and 7 rebounds. So I didn't think that was too bad, 11 and 7 over that career. He was also traded 6 different times in his career, Wood. So I know I had a few recently, I'm like, they've been traded once in 12 years. So 6 trades in 14 seasons. So hopefully he was renting a lot rather than buying there. He was definitely known for having a bit of a ducktail hairstyle, wasn't he? As well as some pretty interesting beards, because before beards came the real in thing, right? Did you know he's actually half American and half Son of Ghost, Woods? I only found this out when doing my research. His mother,
I did.
Yeah, his mother, Finnish.
Yeah.
So his mum's from Finland. So I thought that was a pretty interesting fun fact. So he's still only 43 years of age, Drew Gooden Woods. Currently a broadcaster for the Monumental Sports Network. He's also not to be confused with another Drew Gooden, who is a successful YouTuber. So when you try and type in Drew Gooden, it's giving all these links to this YouTube person that I never heard of before. So he also has got some pretty cool nicknames from Basketball Reference. So Big Drizzle, The Truth, which I think that one might be taking. This one's pretty good. Recede Wallace, in relation to his receding hairline. And Good and Plenty. So I like Good and Plenty. And final fun fact on with these ones, Woods. I'm big on numbers, right? I remember numbers. I always sort of like people's stories. So he's one of only 2 people in NBA history to wear the number 90, which I thought was pretty crazy. So I know numbers aren't your thing, so you're probably not going to know the other guy. But the other one, someone wasn't playing too long ago, Amir Johnson with the Celtics in 2016 and 2017. As we know, with the Celtics, there's basically no numbers left, so you've got to take a random number. So number 90, Drew Gooden. This is what we like doing, right? Telling a bit of a story and maybe educating some people that weren't familiar about Drew Gooden or had just forgotten the guy's name. It's been 16 years since he last took the floor there.
I'm pretty sure he would have taken the floor with the Wizards like 10 years ago, right?
No, 2009. 2009
Really?
was his last season. Yeah, so
Alright.
it just shows you how time flies, something. But he really started bouncing around. He was, I guess maybe that's like Dennis. They said to Dennis Schroeder, it's almost a sign of respect if you are someone that's in a lot of trades. But he certainly bounced around. I mean,
So I'm just looking at his stats, man.
yeah.
2016 was his last year.
So did he make a comeback? Did he? Or
So he played Memphis 2002 to 3, then Orlando, Cleveland, Chicago, Sacramento, San Antonio, Dallas 2009 to 10, Clippers 2010, Bucks 2010 to 13, and then 14 to 16 with the Wizards.
I'm glad you fact checked because I'm obviously wow. So I must have just had 2000 and they must have had the dates wrong with that. So I do
Yeah.
apologise.
So 14 years he had in the league, which is pretty
Yeah,
good.
so 14 years. So I was right with that stuff. Just not right with the finishing
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
No, so I appreciate you correcting that, Woods. But yeah, certainly bounced around. There's a couple of those teams there. Like I'm thinking like Mavs. I don't totally remember him. Spurs. I can't really picture him in a Spurs uniform. Definitely remember him with Clippers towards the end. And I think probably Washington and Cleveland are maybe the two teams you most associate him with. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the half finish, Drew Gooden?
I most remember him in Cleveland in LeBron's rookie year, right? With,
Yeah.
with Anderson Varejao was around at that time, and Zdronis Ilgauskas and those guys, right? So I think I do remember him vaguely at Orlando as well. Just before that, Doc Rivers might have even been his coach
Yeah,
at
that's
Orlando
right.
at the time, right? So
Yeah.
just a guy who had longevity. You know, he can rebound the basketball. He learned to stretch the floor later on in his career, right?
did.
So
Yeah.
great teammate, all rookie first teamer. You said, I think, did you say that?
Yeah, all right. First
right.
team. So
So-
pretty good credential
yeah,
there. And
yeah.
funny to think he's only 43, right? It still feels like he's he's probably closer to 50, but yeah, still only 43 years of age and still involved in the game, which is pretty good to see. Do you want me to go to card of the week? Do you want to do your jersey? How do you want to do it?
Just do the card of the week. Let's go.
Card of the week. All right. So, bit of an NBL theme. This is actually, I said to Emily, what card should I use this week? And she suggested this one. So, it's a pretty fresh card that I actually got signed 2 weeks ago, Wood. So, it is a NBL Topps Chrome 2022-23 Todd Blanchfield Relic card. So, that's the one he signed for me when I met him. Beautiful card, right? So, it's actually got the the game worn relic, as they call it there, and then he signed over the top there. So look, I told that quick story a couple of weeks ago. He was really gracious with his time, signed a jersey for me, signed a card for me, took a photo, which was great. Loving some of this. There's more names to come this season. Woods, we've got Leilani Mitchell coming to town this week, who's one of my absolute favourite female players, and Jalen Galloway and Jason Cadee in a few weeks, and all the rest of it there. But yeah, so Todd Blanchfield. These are nice looking cards too, right? I've actually got the full set of these. I think there's about 40 in the set, and it was pretty hard to track them down. Tasmania cards, Woods, in all these sets are impossible. There's so many Tasmanian fans that collect these cards and they kind of hold on to them. So the Tasmanian ones are the hardest ones to get. And for those that are keen on collecting as well, there's actually variants of these. So this is kind of the base one. They also do one and it's an orange colour that's limited in amount. And then so there's different colours and different amounts of them basically. But yeah, Todd Blanchfield, personally signed Relic Topps Chrome card.
And good that you got it signed in person, right? So
Absolutely, yeah. It's the first one of those cards I've sort of had signed. I wasn't sure if he was going to sign the actual red bit as well, but it looks fine there. But no, I appreciate him doing that. So, well, I can see you're rocking a Pacers jersey, even though they went down today. We're going to talk about that soon. But yeah, show us what you got there. So Woods has got the traditional number 31, Reggie Miller, lovely jersey.
And I got the Raptors hat as well. I know you said you
Yeah.
liked it yesterday. Just a bit of a theme there.
like it,
Pascal Siakam, that connection
Yes,
there with
yes.
the Pacers. Look, I've worn his jersey before. I've gone through all his accolades. But what I want to actually raise with you today is, I talked about Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, all these guys with such a rich history, right?
Yeah.
And how happy they were to see their teams get to the promised land, deep into the playoffs, right? So for someone like Reggie Miller working in the commentary with the commentary team at the moment, sitting back and watching his club have such success would be great for him. He's seen some good times since then with Paul George, Roy Hibbert, those teams and whatnot. But to get to the NBA Finals, how much do you think it means to someone like Reggie Miller?
Yeah, well, shout out to Reggie Miller. I think he's quite a gracious sort of guy. I quite like his personality. I remember when Ray Allen broke his record for those three-pointers made. He couldn't have been happier that Ray Allen broke in that. That kind of showed the true sign of the man there. But I like his. I think they're not actually. I think he's. They're not covering the finals. I think it's more the ESPN guys. So a lot of Doris Burke, which is you love her or hate her sort of thing. But I do like his commentary. I think he's one of those guys that he says some stuff that you're like, oh, okay, he sort of saw that sort of pretty well there. But yeah, he must be so proud. Of course, a one club player, right, which we don't get a lot of over the years. In fact, if you're talking some of those guys that played long careers there, I mean, you think of Dirk, you think of Reggie Miller, and then there's not a lot else these days, is there? I mean, even the great Michael Jordan changed teams at the end of his career, so there's not a lot of those. In fact, I'd love to see his stats. Stockton is another one, right? That played 15 years plus. That played for one team. There's not a whole lot of them there. But yeah, look, what a great player.
Nick Collison.
Yeah, Nick Collison. I'm sure he's watching the finals with interest as well. But he's a great player, wasn't he, for sure? And he hasn't changed as well. You look at him now; he looks exactly like he did 20 years ago.
Yeah, and look, my follow-on question to that is, this jersey hangs in the rafters, but Indiana Pacers don't have many retired jerseys at all right? My question to you is, someone like a Miles Turner, Tyrese Halliburton, if they stay around long enough, could they be, the face of this franchise for the foreseeable future and potentially get the jersey retirement?
I mentioned in the coverage today, Miles Turner, 10 years. Look, if they were to win this year, and he is a free agent, if he was to sign another contract, you'd almost say he was a lock, right? Someone that's had double figures with a team that hasn't got a lot of retired jerseys and won a chip there. Look, Halliburton's an interesting one because he's still fairly new to the team. I'd say fairly new. He's been there a good couple of seasons now, but it probably depends. I think if you get a championship, you'd have to retire a couple of these guys' jerseys, given it would be, such a momentous occasion for the team. But it would be nice to see someone like that retired in the rafters, right?
Definitely. And tell me, who are the other three? Do you know? Let me test your knowledge there. Indiana Pacers.
Indiana. I'm tipping these are going back a long
Very
way,
long, man.
Like Clark Kellogg or something, maybe? Or
Okay, so you've got George McGinnis, Mel Daniels, and Roger Brown.
Okay, never would have got those in a million years.
I know.
Roger Brown, not someone whose name is on the top of my tongue.
So the Pacers are
they need some modern retiree jerseys.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
I mean, Paul George was, certainly on that path there with the success, but it's funny, he's been mentioned a lot. He was in a lot of those trades that have strengthened both of these teams that are in the finals now. He was part of the Clippers OKC trade for SGA to go to OKC, and he was also part of the trade that got Halliburton there. Is that right? No, he was part of the trade that. No, he wasn't. The link. There is a link there that basically you got there as well. I'll have to fact check that, but interesting.
All right, man. So as I mentioned, we just watched Game 2. So just after Game 1 was won by Indiana. We'll talk about it in a second, Robbie. But Game 2 just finished, 123 to 107. Back to normal operations here, as we thought OKC would be the favorites in this series. Bit of an aberration in Game 1, but OKC seemed to get it together today, right?
Yeah, look, it certainly didn't have that excitement in Game 1, as you mentioned. We will talk a little bit about that. It was still fun. Look, I enjoy that OKC crowd. They're amazing, aren't they? They stand up every time and just get the team going. They really are a six-man for the team there. Look, I jotted down a few notes during the game, as you do when you're about to record a podcast afterwards. So, one thing that really stood out for me, Woods, was OK's close out and help defense, right? We know they're a great defensive team. They close out on everything there. They really switch well. They're such an evenly sized team, right? That you can't sort of hunt someone on defense in that team. So really I saw quite a few examples of that. J-Dub was probably the main one that was doing it that sort of stood out there. So yeah, close out D was really good. Probably the main storyline would be the two role players in Alex Caruso and Andrew Wiggins. So they combined for 38 points in this game. So if someone would have said those two guys are going to combine for 38, you probably wouldn't have believed it, right, at the start of the game. Wiggins, Caruso was great all game. Wiggins had that really good patch in the third quarter, didn't he? Where he hit 5 threes, I think, in total for the game.
Yep, so he did. Yep.
He was huge. He's one of those players, he's had a 40-point game in the NBA this year, and then he's had games where he's barely played and not scored. So what a weapon to bring off the bench there. Maybe from the OKC side, Halliburton ended up with okay stats. He sort of, was a bit better in the fourth, but this is one of those games that I think we talked about in our preview last week, Woods. There's so many options they can throw at him. It's just going to make life tough for him all game, right? Didn't see a lot of their role players step up. We saw in the first game Toppin and a few guys like that. They had some solid performances. Mathurin fired up at the end. They had quite a few guys in double figures, but the rebound count was another one for me. So OKC were plus 8 on the boards after, quite considerably losing the rebounds there. And one last thing, Woods, on the stats there. If you look at the box scores from this game, some fairly similar stats, right? So both teams made 14 three-pointers. Indiana had 2 more turnovers, and the field goal percentages were about 3% apart. So if you looked at those stats, you'd say, probably a close game. But look, it wasn't, right? It had one of those games where you wondered if this was going to get up to maybe high 20s or 30. It ended up going the other way and getting mid-teens there. But they are my thoughts. What were your sort of thoughts watching that a couple of hours ago?
Yeah, so to break down some of the stuff that you said, right, in the first half of Game 1, in all of Game 1, there was 13 assists, right, for OKC. In the first half today, there was 14 assists, They were moving without the ball. The ball was humming around. they were looking, passing up a good shot to get a better shot, right?
Yeah.
And the closeout defense wasn't great by Indiana on the opposite side. You know, you'd always find a guy open in the corner for three today. And then going back to that closeout defense, I saw that today. A lot of Aaron Neesmith got blocked on a corner three, right? I think that was that might have been
Toppin might have been blocked on a long two as well.
yeah. So I mean, just getting in hand in their face, making sure you're getting your rotations right. You really saw a different OKC team today who really adjusted after that loss in game one. And maybe we'll get to game one. They were.
Let me ask you quickly, Woods, before we go into game one.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on the lineup changes that OKC have done? Obviously, we know we've seen Hartenstein and Big Chet play a lot of minutes together. They've gone away from that. So Hartenstein's been coming off the bench. Case and Wallace has started both. But I barely saw those two play any minutes together today. Maybe they might have played a couple of minutes there. But they weren't on the court together. So it's been a bit of a change-up by the Thunder there. What's your thoughts on that move?
I mean, the
It
commentary
didn't look
team.
good after game one, did it? But it's
Yeah, it did. And the commentary team were talking about it today. This team is 64-18, cruise through the playoffs with this lineup, right? Why? There's no need to change it right now. But Dagnall's stuck with his guns, and he knows best, right? So obviously it worked today, and if he's I think that he's going to maintain that for the rest of the series by the looks of things.
Love that play that Hartenstein had when he basically got that steal.
Fell on the floor.
That was great. I mean, that's that thing that really wills your team on. So but no, give me your thoughts on game one. Obviously, it feels like a while ago. It's only 3 days ago now, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's go back to game one. OKC did okay. Let me tell you the final score. All right, the final score was 111 to 110 with Tyrese Halliburton hitting a game winner. Right. I think there was a stat, and he's got 5 in the last little period to make him third all time already, right?
That's crazy.
But the thing was, they were up by 14-15 with a quarter to go, right? And they didn't close out the game well, right? And that's where they made a difference today. They were up by a similar amount going into the fourth quarter. They really closed out the game well, but they struggled, and I think the pressure got to them. And Indiana really showed that we can't underestimate them, didn't they, right?
Absolutely. Look, for me, 15-point lead in that game one. That Halliburton shot was the only lead that the Pacers had the entire game, which is a crazy stat, right? To think of that happen there. My thoughts on that. We mentioned obviously that starting lineup change. It was a strange one for me that they did that there. You're right. They were the home team. They were the team that had all that success and out rebounded teams and out defended teams. But look, it's obviously something they're going to stick with there. I guess SGA had the big points in that game. I didn't think he was maybe as efficient as usual there. And Chet was a lot better in game two. He gave them nothing in game one. I think he was 6 points and 6 rebounds. Still looks a little bit like Bambi on ice a couple of times, Woods, when he tries to dribble too much. It's like, we know he's got some big man skills and that, but just a couple of times he's a little bit out of control with those drives there. And I thought Jay Will in game one, or Jay Dub, I should say, was a little bit quiet there. You needed him to maybe step up a little bit there. Also, game one thoughts. Case and Wallace played 33 minutes in that game, and I thought he was a non-factor. He was minus 13 plus minus, which was the lowest in the game, basically. And
4 field goal attempts as well. That's it. I think he had.
That's it. And Hartenstein only 17 minutes. So my notes after game one that he needed to play a bit more than that. Obviously for Indiana, the big thing that's been spoken about is the rebound. So they were plus 17 on the boards, which is a crazy stat, and made that starting lineup change look a little bit strange. It was a funny one because the Pacers had so many turnovers in the first half, but OKC just weren't able to turn those into points, were they? They'd sort of turn over and then they come down and miss it there. But big games from the role players in game one. So Obi Toppin was Andrew Nembhard, I've got to say, he's growing on me a little bit there. He seems to be one of those players that he thinks he's the best player on the court. He's definitely got that kind of feel about him. He rates his game. He's had some ordinary games that he'll step up and have some big games in. The stage doesn't look, he doesn't look scared at all out there. What are your thoughts on that?
I love him. And even when he was struggling to drop his shot earlier in the playoffs, he stuck with it defensively, And I told you it's not going to happen forever. His shot's going to start dropping. But you look at that. They shot 47% from 3. Let me just bring up the stats in that game. They shot, 46.2% from 3, and 9 different players made a 3 on Indiana. Like, you're not going to have that again, right? And OKC, we're not going to let that happen. We're really going to close out on these 3-point shooters, not let them get open. We saw that transition today. The adjustments were made. And they're a well-coached team. They're the best defense in the league, right?
What are your thoughts on Halliburton, Woods? Obviously, he got the game winner in game one. He'll get all the credit for that. Today, he got some late points, but they've contained him pretty well, I think, in the first 2 games.
I think he needs to look
the turnovers today, right, as well.
Yeah, even a couple of times in the backcourt dribbling back, he was lucky to get away with a couple of them, right? One of them he actually got called for a backcourt violation, but I think he needs to be a bit more aggressive on offense. Early in the piece, he's trying to find his teammates and whatnot, but get to the rim, get into the foot of the paint. He says he judges how his game is when he can get a couple of feet into the paint, and then he knows he's under control, right? Get into the teeth of the defense, get into the paint, use that aggressive mentality to get to the free throw line, see a few layups fall early on in the game, right?
Yeah.
And take more of that leadership role, I think.
Because 5 turnovers for him is like something you never see with him. And he's a guy this season that's had, 15, 16, 17 assists and basically 1 turnover. I think even a couple of games where he had 0 turnovers.
His assist to turnover ratio is worldly.
It's outrageous,
right?
isn't it? Yeah. Hey, great to see Johnny Furphy get some court time in the end. He had 1 rebound and 1 foul, so he didn't even get any shot attempts. But yeah, great to see Furphy get his first minutes in the finals.
And I guess one final thing I will pick apart that you said, Aaron Wiggins is so underrated. As you said, he can come out and he can give you points on one day. If the next day he's asked just to lock down on defense and do a job for his team, he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys down that roster, you mentioned Kesson Wallace, Kenrick Williams, right? These guys don't care less, man. They just want to win ball
Williams
games.
is a vet of the team now, right? Would he be their oldest player? Have to be, wouldn't he?
Would be pretty close to, man.
He's
I
in
would
his
say.
30s. He's got to be like up there, sort of thing. But yeah, he came on and they played some good defense out there. Like he obviously is not going to give you a whole lot on offense there, but yeah, like Mark Dagnall's got so much trust in that bench as well, right?
Caruso would be the oldest.
Caruso will be close in age. Yeah, he looks like he's a bit older, obviously. But yeah, that bench is so deep. But look, shout out to both teams. They both do have deep benches. Jarace Walker wearing those shorts in game one, not quite sure about that. I know you were hating
Jarace Walker.
Yeah, well, whatever you want to call him. But wearing shorts is probably not your cup of tea, right, when you're on the bench.
No.
Put a suit on, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I think OKC figured a little bit out in this game here.
Yeah.
Let's see when they go back to Indiana what happens, right? I'm going to ask you in true or false later if you change your prediction.
Yeah,
so we can...
and of course those next games. So we've got Thursday this week our time, and then we've got Saturday. So this is the Saturday is the only other weekend game. So I don't know if you've noticed that every other game's going to be. I know you've got, I think, maybe you'll take a day or two off to watch some of them. But yeah, Saturday's going to be the only game that we're actually able to completely watch. So looking forward to that. But yeah, 1-1. I think we'll take that, right? I think Indiana will probably take that going home with a 1-1 advantage or 1-1 tie there.
Yep, and we were asking for a bit more excitement from the playoffs, right? That first game was awesome, right?
Oh, it was awesome, wasn't it? Unbelievable. Yep. Yeah.
All right, man, let's move on to some true or false, shall we? All right. First one. Robbie will be attending the Pavlos Yiannakopoulos Tournament Games in Sydney. True or false?
This might be an unpopular opinion, Woods. I'm going to say false. I was a little bit underwhelmed with the whole announcement. There's some people like, greatest teams in Europe. I'm not really that fussed on going to that. I mean, look, it might be different if it was, my Wildcats playing them, and maybe I'd be keen to go. It sounds like you're going to be going. You're keen to check out your new Kings players and stuff like that. But I don't know. It doesn't really get the needle sort of that high for me. I would have been more excited if they would have had one of those NBA NBL games here, and it was the Pelicans coming here instead of Melbourne. I would have definitely been going to that. But I'm going to say false. So I'm probably not going to go. I take it you will be, right?
Yeah, I'll probably go on the Sunday. I'm going to say true because you get to see Kendrick Davis in Sydney Kings colours for the first time. Bryce Cotton come into town, right? Our good friend Foxy was just texting me the other day going, "What are you going to be there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there on the Sunday."
Yeah. Nice.
And then
we can go and represent Throwback Hoops then.
I said, "I'll ask Robbie on the show. What if I get you a ticket? You'll come, right?"
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So what's the actual format, though? So Adelaide, Sydney, and then the 2 European teams, is that right?
Yep, and they're playing across 2 different cities. So you've got Melbourne and Sydney games in, right? So I think everyone plays each other twice, and then there's a...
Without hijacking true false too much, how do you see that Pelicans playing against the 2 Melbourne teams for the pre-season? Do you reckon that'll be pretty sold out games there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, they'll have all the... Anyone who's a casual fan wants to see the NBA will come, right? You'll get those
even if
guys.
it's not the Zions and the other guys, people will still go, right?
Yeah, I might go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I might go. It's in Melbourne, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't been to Melbourne for 7 years. Unbelievable. Long time.
We should go together once.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, next one. There is more anticipation around the Kendrick versus Bryce contest when Sydney take on Adelaide next season than there is for Bryce Cotton to go back to Perth to face the Red Army.
Look, I like this one, Woods. I'm probably still going to say false. I think that first game, it might be one of those Friday night 9:30 hour games when Adelaide are taking on Perth in Perth. That's going to be must-watch basketball, right? Firstly, to see how the crowd are going to treat him. Is he going to get one of those tribute videos? Is he going to be emotional? Is he going to put 58 on Perth? Who knows? But look, I understand what you're saying there. The whole, the Kendrick Davis news is really interesting. The podcast this week where he spoke about, basically Adelaide were trying to rush him into a decision, which is what we heard that story before from Bryce. And then they ended up taking a couple of zeros off the deal at the end and then not signing him. So he's going to be pretty motivated going into that game, isn't he? That's going to be probably a must-watch game as well. But I'll probably say a false of that. But I see what you're doing there, yeah.
I say false too, man. Bryce going back to face the Red Army after all this time, after all the stuff going around social medias, everyone's so got a bee in their bonnet about him, So I think he's gonna cop it.
Yeah,
From some parts of the crowd.
True.
Yeah, but they'll both be spicy encounters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We've just heard that Adam Ford's more than likely going to be coming back to Cairns for another season. We've also heard that Cairns have got a private ownership group now and are able to spend a lot more money going forward. So they're going to be able to go and compete with some of the, higher market teams or, larger market teams in the NBL. So firstly, it's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And so my question to you is, now that they've got that, Keanu Pinder should reunite with Adam Ford in Cairns.
Yeah, I'll probably say true for that one. I've still been thinking about this lately, and look, I wouldn't mind having him coming back to Perth. I think he was maybe a little bit underperforming, but he's still a great player. Let's not forget that, right? And, he was obviously on a big salary there. Maybe he didn't quite live up to it. But look, if you could get him on a better deal there, you'd certainly have him back. But his best years were playing under Ford, right? Firstly, that's pretty crazy, right? That he looked like he'd moved on, and now it seems like that's 100%. It's just not totally been signed off that he will be back there as a coach, but that was pretty crazy. But yeah, look, if they do have that money to spend, that'll be good, because we've seen him do great things over the years with a smaller budget, right? We've talked about how good they are at plucking these imports out, and they've had some veteran imports, they've had some young guys, they've had some next stars that have really worked out. So yeah, forward back with a bit more of a budget there, that could be an interesting one to watch in Cairns.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm going to say true to that, but also to your point, we heard Brad Rose and Derek Rucker talk about it. They've lost Cotton, right? You can't afford to lose Pinder as well. He's a marquee level Australian talent. I would have had a conversation to try and make it work. Right?
It seems like it's never even been a conversation, which is a little bit surprising, right? It's almost like, they were just sweating and move on from him sort of thing. But yeah, well, it was such a great coup to get him back to Perth, obviously playing for the club that, his dad, even though, we know he's probably not the greatest bloke, but, his dad sort of had all those great moments there in the 80s, which is where my, basketball love first began, watching those Wildcats home games and Kendall Tiny Pinder tearing down the rim on that fast break there and that. But yeah, it just didn't quite work out for whatever reason there. But yeah, hopefully he does stay in the NBL. I know you'd certainly be loving it. I think you've got a jersey of every team he's ever played for, which is a pretty cool one. I do.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. We are sticking to our 4-1 finals prediction.
Yeah, true for me. Look, again, it was exciting to see Indiana get that first one. I think we said that. How good would it be if they got the first? They're going to go back with a bit of confidence in Game 3, knowing they've got those two games. Their home crowd's going to be pretty similar to what the OKC home crowd were, but I just think OKC's got too much, too many weapons to throw at Indiana's big players. I think Indiana will probably put up a decent fight, especially in that Game 3, but yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty quick series and maybe only 3 more games. So yeah, I'll say true for that.
I'm going to say false. I'm going to change it to 4-2. I think they might just pick up one more game along the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, let's double click on this a little bit more. I know what your answer is going to be. The New York Knickerbockers were right to fire coach Tom Thibodeau.
Is this an I told you so from you, by the way? So for those that listened last week, we sort of talked about this, and Woody was like, no, I'd move on from him. I'm like, you can't do that. The guy just got the team to the conference finals. I think that'd be a harsh move. I think I also said if they did get rid of him, I'm sure another team would snatch him up. But this was the big news that came out, right? The non-finals news last week. Look, it still is a surprise at Woods. I know you were saying maybe it wasn't, but look, he's got his team to the Final Four. They've had their most successful team in, years, New York, in like 25 plus years, right? It's just strange, isn't it? Is he just showing that era of coaches just isn't working now, those older sort of coaches? It doesn't seem to be working. I've heard a lot of rumblings that people aren't happy with Rick Brunson as well on the sidelines. He seems to be one of those old school sort of, would get in your face a little bit now. It doesn't seem to work with some of the younger players, but well, maybe I'll throw it back to you. You obviously weren't surprised, but you must have been a little bit surprised at the end of the day that maybe it happened so quick as well, right?
Yeah, I thought it was going to happen. I thought it would be in the best interest for the team to let go of him.
Yeah.
Because this is as far as I think he can take that team, right? That was my opinion, but yes, I didn't think it would happen overnight. Like literally a day after
Yeah.
we recorded the last podcast,
Crazy.
and he's put the team in a better position than when he took the job on, right? So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see who are they. Okay, fine. If not Tom Thibodeau, who then, right?
Well, I know Jay Wright, who was the Villanova coach, that obviously half of the Knicks team's Villanova Wildcats there. He's already said no, he's not coming out of retirement. It feels like it's got to be a high-profile name. Wouldn't be surprised if they try and go a younger sort of name there. Look, I don't have any examples off the top of my head there, but someone that's a bit more of a players' coach that might relate to some of these players. Found it really interesting that after the season they had, that people were throwing shade on Cat and Jalen Brunson and saying, "Oh, these two can't work together because." The two of them are below average defenders. Like, come on, guys! They just got through to the conference finals. They were the second best team in the East there. So I thought that was a little bit harsh there. But yeah, whoever gets that job,
Frank
it's a
Vogel,
tough,
maybe
tough
someone
job.
like that.
Yeah, maybe.
He's out there, right?
Maybe it's a tough job. Whoever gets it, right? We know that. But I'll be looking forward to see who does finally get that job. And will they have someone in place for the draft? It's probably unlikely, right? Given that draft's going to be less than 3 weeks now. I know we're both pumped for the draft this year. The big
Can't wait.
Aussie factor there, but. Yeah, what was your true or false question? Because I know I've spoken a lot without answering true or false there. But
So the true or false, the New York Knickerbockers were right to fire coach Tom Thibodeau.
I'll stick with my guns and say false. I think you got them pretty far. I know you're definitely a true on this one, though. But
Yep. Well, great season for New York, right? Let's see if they can go one step further next year, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, shall we do some classic facts?
Yeah, let's do it. We haven't done a couple. Oh, we're doing
right.
pretty well for time here today. So
I've got the 94,
hey,
95.
Woods, I should say while you're doing that as well, we are going to talk a little bit about the internationals versus USA All-Star format
yes.
over the next couple of episodes. Woody and I are going to put together our international teams. We're going to do this like offline and then compare it on the show. So looking forward to that, Woods. I was looking through and I think they're going to have a pretty strong team. Very big man heavy team. But look out for that in a couple of weeks. We're going to pick who we think would be that best international squad.
I've heard through the grapevine they're just going to pick the 24 best players. All the international guys will be on one team, and if there's 3 or 4 Americans on that team, that'll be the case. It won't be.
Well, that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to pick our best 12, best 12 internationals, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And I think we might try and find 1 or 2 Aussies on that team if we can, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I can think of 2 that I'll be putting on
Yeah,
my
yeah,
team.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So I've got the Tops 94-95 Series 1. Yeah.
Yep.
Haven't done this in a while. These are really nice cards.
Cool. Nice crisp pack, right?
Yep.
And Wood, you saw some of my card collection yesterday when you dropped over on my place. Impressed with that, were you?
Very impressed, man. All the Hawks cards especially.
I'm liking those signed Hawks cards. Yeah.
All right. Let's get this open.
Sounds nice and crisp. You can tell these ones are nice and sealed, right?
Yeah.
94, 95, you said.
Yeah, man, they're sticking together. Okay. Okay, Paint Patrol card. This guy, number 33, from the Charlotte Hornets.
Alonzo
Morning.
Pretty cool card.
Paint Patrol.
Nice.
On the back.
So
it just
different
has
than Paw Patrol, right?
Yeah, different. So he's 10.2 rebounds, 3.1 blocks per game, and 21.5 points. That's pretty productive.
He was a great player. He doesn't get spoken about as much, does he? No. So he was a great centre back in the 90s.
Okay, Indiana Pacers forward, number 41.
LaSalle
Thompson. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. I like those old jerseys. Is that Kukoc he's up against it?
No.
No?
Not sure who that guy is. Sixers.
Sixers. Yeah, I can't quite see that. Oh, yeah, don't know actually.
Okay. All-star card here for the guy you just mentioned earlier in the podcast about playing his whole career for one team. There's not many, right? We said Kobe, John Stockton.
Nice. How's his shorts going? Yeah, pretty standard shorts. I remember those cards.
Name a few others for me.
So Dirk.
Brad Daugherty. Never left Cleveland.
Yeah. Brad Daugherty. I'm trying to think if there's anyone for our Hawks, and definitely not, right? If they did that fateful Dominique trade, there's no one that's been there that long there, right? Yeah, I mean, some of those Boston guys, early days sort of thing, but even the other guys, like obviously, Paul Pierce changed a lot. There's not a lot. We'll have to fact check that. Anyone that's played 15 years plus with the original team.
This guy left Golden State after his rookie year, and then in his second year at New York, he won an All-Star selection. Or like 2 years after spending in the Warriors.
New York.
Him and PJ Carlesimo have an interesting history.
He never choked in a game, did he? He choked a coach.
Latrell Sprewell, 94. That might have actually been with Golden State. right?
Yeah, maybe.
'Cause
How good did that guy used to be on the top 10 players in NBA action with Latrell Sprewell? He'd have a top 10 player every week, that guy.
Especially when he was with the Warriors.
I remember him getting a dunk against Seattle where he got like a steal and went down the baseline and just crammed it down with 2 hands. Yeah, he was fun, wasn't he? Yeah.
Okay, the mayor guard, Phoenix Suns guard, number 1.
Number 7?
Number 7. Sorry, my bad.
Kevin Johnson.
Yeah.
Love me a bit of KJ. He's a jersey I've got in that cupboard right next to me.
I'd
I'm yet to wear, so I
I'd
might
love
pull
one.
that one day. Yeah. He was awesome.
Okay, so underrated. Played for Phoenix and Seattle. Just a scoring machine.
Kenny Johnson?
Lee would go nuts if he about an All-Star game where he was MVP.
Rolando Blackman.
No, MVP. No, he threw down a massive dunk.
Tom Chambers.
Tom Chambers.
Well, he's that one we've spoken about whether he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should be, man. Like, what a scorer.
There's
Like,
been worse
flat
players
out,
than that,
man. Like, he could get buckets, right?
He was great.
Okay, awesome. This is a name I haven't heard in a while. Number 44 from the Charlotte Hornets. He started. He was one of the starters on this team alongside Mourning and Larry Johnson. He was...
Rex Walters?
KG initials.
Not
6'8".
Kevin Gamble?
Kenny Gaddison.
Oh, Kenny Gaddison. Yeah, he was alright, wasn't he? Didn't mind him.
Yeah, he started on that team. Some games, did he? Let's have a look. Yeah, 25 minutes per game. Okay. Oh, legend, left-hander, man. Left-hander. This guy is the man. Seattle Supersonics guard. Played for... he's been on the starters as a guest with... Lee Ellis loves him. He's played for the New Jersey Nets as well. Kendall.
Was he a left-hander? He was a left-hand dunker.
He's a left-hand dunker.
He's
a left-hand dunker.
He was one of those guys
Yeah. He threw his dunks down always left.
He's another jersey that I've got that I've thought about wearing. I don't think I've won it yet. I've got a Nets.
I'd love to have one, man.
Yeah,
I can't find one.
Seattle Kendall Gill will be nice.
What a great pack this is, man. Okay, number 10 from the Bucks. It's not nighttime. It is.
10.
It's not night. Todd Day.
Of course. I should know that one. It's another jersey in there. Yeah. Funny, I thought you were saying Nike, not Night. So, no, that's got it, yeah. I was a big fan of Todd Day.
There's a documentary coming out in a couple of days. I cannot wait for it. It's on ESPN. It's about Birgit and Longley.
Yes, I've heard
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And,
is it on ESPN? Because there was that one the other day that was on Disney Plus. I'm like, I don't have that, the NBL one. Like,
So another Lucian Longley card.
Lucian, yeah. That's a bit of Mace next to him as well, right?
Yep.
They
No,
would
I
have
think
filled that off that game.
on Disney Plus you'll be able to watch it on demand when you want.
Okay.
On ESPN you'll just have to watch it on the time that it comes on, or you record it, right? You know?
Okay, yeah. Nice. Good to get an Aussie in there, that's cool.
Oh, and then I've got the From the Floor. I didn't put on my glasses today. I can't read this.
You are glasses free today. What's going on?
Yeah, I forgot to put them on. Okay, this is center from the Golden State Warriors in 1994.
Ronnie Cycli?
No.
Chris Gatling?
Yeah, he played alongside Chris Gatling. I love this guy. In fact, the big dunk that Sean Kemp is like shooting.
Oh, Alton Lister.
No, yeah, okay, nah. I thought it was Victor Alexander. It was Alton Lister that he dunked on. You're right. Yeah.
He was a big, solid boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's a random card, that one too, isn't it? Like a random picture on it.
Checklist can go.
Yeah. What is the checklist?
Honest. Yeah. Okay. No, it's actually got. This checklist has actually got a really nice D Brown photo on the front of it.
Okay, maybe that one deserves to say. What is it? Celtics team? Is there any names for me to guess?
No, it just says D Brown.
Just actual players. Yeah.
Oh, Ball Hawk. Who takes away? Okay, this is his steals, leading the league in steals.
Oh, he led the league.
Yep.
Wow.
1.24. What does it say? No, that's it.
Surprised Mookie didn't win it. He seemed to win every other.
Ratio to steals to turnovers. That's the statistic they were keeping, and he's number 1 in the league at it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You don't hear much about that stat these days.
Nah. Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
That was solid. Yeah.
A little bit of a shorter show, but yeah, great pack. All right, Rob, you want to just take everyone out with where we can be found, all that jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Woods mentioned at the start, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. As always, we can be followed on X at Throwbacks Hoops, Instagram throwback.hoops, and email address throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Woods will get the Drew Gooden up. Not sure if you got last week's episode. I didn't give you the 2 reminders, did I? Maybe you can put those up later.
I'll put those up. Yeah.
And I'll get this out tomorrow. Woody will also have that next week, so it's a nice signed card there. But also Patreon. Anyone wants to pledge a couple of dollars to help us with all the costs associated with this, we'd be internally grateful there. And that was a fun show. Looking forward to game 3. So you said you're taking the day off, right?
Yeah, I got Thursday and Friday off work.
That's a smart move. Yeah. Nice.
And also take some notes, make sure that we're prepared to record our next episode, because I think the next episode may be the last one we do for a while, right? After the end of the NBA season.
Yeah, I think it's Thursday, Saturday, and then it's Tuesday next week, I think, are the games there. So look, obviously if say OKC win those 2 games in Indiana, we'll probably hold back a couple of days, I would have thought, just to see if it does go over quickly. Let's hope it doesn't, Woods. I tipped, obviously, I think it might still be 4-1. I'd love to see Indiana win game 3 and just, make this a long series, right? They're both pretty likeable teams. I found myself cheering on Indiana today just because you feel like you always go for the underdog when your own team's not playing.
Absolutely.
OKC's too strong.
All right, any final thoughts, buddy?
No, look, again, thanks for that lunch yesterday. Those burgers at Outback Steakhouse were great. Really enjoyed that. Love the cocktail. Good to have some laughs and everything like that. So, no, I appreciate that. And, great to chat with you as always, mate.
Yep, always, Robbie. And from Robbie and I and the team at Throwback Hoops, until next week, peace out.